Revelation chapter 13, verse 18. Here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. What are the odds? 1 in 4, 1 in 10, 1 in 1,000, 1 in 1,000,000, 1 in 1,000,000,000. First, let me give you the wisdom to understanding how Harry's name equals 666. The Hebrew and Greek alphabets use their letters as numbers. This means that A equals 1 and B equals 2. Or more specifically in Greek, alpha equals 1 and beta equals 2. Where alpha and beta are the name of the letters, and the alpha and beta shown on the right are the actual Greek letters. It would be apparent to most people that the word alphabet comes from these two letters. And likewise in the Hebrew, Aleph equals 1 and Bet equals 2, where Aleph and Bet are the name of the letters, and the Aleph and Bet shown on the right are the actual Hebrew letters. Here are the 24 letters of the Greek alphabet in lowercase format with their respective numbers. You will notice that 6, 90 and 900 are missing. These are represented by the now obsolete letters digamma, copper and sampi. The number 12 would look like this, with iota for the number 10 to the left and beta for the number 2 on the right. The first time the number 12 is used in the book of Revelation is chapter 7 verse 5, where the tribes of the children of Israel are referred to in sets of 12,000. There are 272 numbers in the book of Revelation. 258 are written as words, with only 14 written as actual numbers. Here is the number 144, with rho for the number 100 shown on the left, mu for the number 40 shown in the middle, and delta for the number 4 shown on the right. The very first time a number is written in numerical form is the number 144 in Revelation chapter 7 verse 4, as shown here. Here is the number 666, with chi for the number 600 on the left, xi for the number 60 in the middle, and digamma for the number 6 on the right. The last number to be written as an actual number in the book of Revelation is 666, as shown here in Revelation chapter 13 verse 18. Understanding that Greek letters can be used as numbers is the first step to gaining the wisdom for calculating the number of the beast. The next step is found in the verse before verse 18. Revelation chapter 13 verse 17 says this, "And that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name." The meaning of this is quite clear now that we understand that Greek letters represent numbers. A simple example of this number of his name can be seen with the word Abba, which is the Greek word for father. The number of this name would be 6, since we would add the value of 1 for alpha, 2 for beta, 2 for the second beta, and 1 for the second alpha. Let us now look at a more complex name. Here is the name Jesus in English, and here is the Greek version, which is pronounced Jesus. The number of Jesus' name in Greek has a value of 888. This is achieved by adding the value of each Greek letter. Iota has a value of 10, Eta has a value of 8, Sigma has a value of 200, Omicron has a value of 70, Upsilon has a value of 400, and the final Greek character, Sigma, which has an altered appearance when placed at the end of a word and looks like an S, has a value of 200. All these values, when added together, have a total of 888. The number 8 in the Bible represents a new beginning. It also represents resurrection. Jesus was resurrected on the 8th day of the week, otherwise known as Sunday. There were 8 souls on the ark, namely Noah, Shem, Ham, Japheth, and their wives. An octave is 8 notes apart, with the 8th note a repeat of the first note. In the same way that 6 is one short of God's perfect number 7, so too is 8 one better than 7. This concept is supported in Scripture, where Paul writes to the Ephesians, "And to know the love of Christ, which passeth knowledge, that ye might be filled with all the fullness of God. Now unto him that is able to do exceeding abundantly above all that we ask or think, according to the power that worketh in us." Where man falls short of God's glory without Christ, and meets God's expectations with Christ, so too is Christ counted worthy of more glory. Jesus said the following in the 17th chapter of the Gospel of John: "And the glory which thou gavest me, I have given them, that they may be one, even as we are one, I in them and thou in me, that they may be made perfect in one." This tells us that man has moved from 6 to 7 in Christ, and that God with a perfect creation has moved from 7 to 8. The next step is understanding that the calculation will be with Hebrew letters and not Greek letters. A clue to this is given by Jesus, the true Messiah, who revealed the ancestry of the false Messiah when he said this in John chapter 5 verse 43, "I am come in my Father's name, and ye receive me not. If another shall come in his own name, him ye will receive." Jesus is telling us that the Jewish people who reject Jesus Christ as Messiah will accept a false Messiah with Jewish ancestry. I am not the only one who thinks this. The late Barry Smith had this to say about this matter.
But during the course of our lectures, I point out that we will recognize him in 4 ways. Number 1, he will be a non-religious Jewish man. Now, by saying that, I'm not anti-Jewish. In fact, I'm very pro-Jewish. We are friends with many Jewish folk. We take tours every year there. But this man must of necessity be a Jew, because Jesus himself was a Jew. He's going to be called the Antichrist, or one who takes the place of Christ. The Jews at the moment are looking for a Messiah, and they're going to get one shortly, and his name will be called, Antichrist. He's called the Beast, Man of Sin, Son of Perdition. This man must be Jewish. John 5:43 points this out in a very subtle way. Jesus said, "I am come in my Father's name, you receive me not. Another shall come in his own name, and him you will receive." It's no use a red Indian turning up and saying to the Jewish people, "I'm your Messiah." They wouldn't accept him.
Here is the Hebrew alphabet with their respective numbers shown to the right and the name of the letters shown to the left. The equivalent English sound is shown to the far right. Here is the name Harry shown in English, and here is the Hebrew transliteration of Harry shown below. The transliteration is a reproduction of how Harry's name sounds in Hebrew. Because of this, only one of the R's is reproduced. Note also that Hebrew is written from right to left. The number of Harry's name is 216. We achieve this by adding 5 for he, 1 for Aleph, 200 for resh, and 10 for yod. The number 216 is particularly significant since its factors are 6 times 6 times 6. Let us now look at the number of Harry's paternal surname and the number of his maternal surname. Harry's paternal surname is Mountbatten Windsor. Here it is in Hebrew, which would be pronounced Mountbatten Windsor. Mountbatten has a value of 167, which would be achieved by adding 40 for Mem, 1 for Aleph, 6 for Vav, 50 for Nun, 9 for Tet, 2 for Bait, 9 for Tet, and 50 for Nun. Like the Greek letter sigma, the Hebrew letter Nun has an altered appearance when placed at the end of a word. This is known as a final form. Windsor has a value of 283, which would be achieved by adding 6 for Vav, 10 for Yod, 50 for Nun, 4 for Dalet, 7 for Zayin, 6 for Vav, and 200 for Resh. 283 plus 167 equals 450. Here is the English word Spencer with its Hebrew form below. This also has a total of 450. This is achieved by adding 60 for Semki, 80 for P, 50 for Nun, 60 for Samki, and 200 for Resh. When we add 216 for Harry, we have a total of 666 for both his paternal and maternal surnames. The final name to have a total of 666 is Prince Henry Albert David. Here is the Hebrew form shown below. Prince has a gematria of 145, which is achieved by adding 5 for he, 50 for Nun, 60 for Samki, 10 for Yod, and 20 for Kaf, which has a final form as shown here. You will notice that Prince is not transliterated. This is because the existing Hebrew word for prince is used. This can be verified from this image, which is the front cover of the book The Prince by Niccolo Machiavelli. The number of the name Henry is 265, which is achieved by adding 5 for he, 50 for Nun, 200 for Resh, and 10 for Yod. The gematria for Albert is 242, which is achieved by adding 1 for Aleph, 30 for Lamed, 2 for Bait, 200 for Resh, and 9 for Tet. The number of the name David is 14, which is achieved by adding 4 for the letter Dalet, 6 for Vav, and 4 for the second Dalet. These numbers, when added together, total 666. All of these names can be verified by using Google Translate. Let us now move on to calculating the odds of 4 names with 666. When you roll a dice, the chances of rolling, say for example, a 4 is 1 in 6. If you roll a second dice, the chances of rolling a 4 and a 6 is 1 in 36. This is achieved by multiplying the odds for each throw. 1 in 6 multiplied by 1 in 6 equals 1 in 36. This can be further understood by this 6 by 6 table showing every possible combination of 2 throws of a dice. There are 36 different combinations, so there is a 1 in 36 chance of rolling the 4 and 6 combination. To better understand the significance of low probability, let us go to tats.com. If we go to the About tab and select the Odds of Winning option, we can see that the odds of winning Division 1 Tats Lotto is 1 in 8,145,060. If we then go to the How to Play tab, we will find that the Tats Lotto game has 45 balls numbered from 1 to 45, from which 8 are randomly selected. The first 6 balls drawn are the winning numbers, and the last 2 drawn are the supplementary numbers. This means that with the first drawn ball, there is a 6 in 45 chance of selecting a winning number. With the second drawn ball, there is a 5 in 44 chance of selecting a winning number. Since there is now 1 less ball, and presuming you got the first drawn correct, 1 less of your selection. This sequence continues until the last of the 6 balls is selected, which has a 1 in 40 chance of being selected, presuming the previous 5 balls were correct. When all of these odds are multiplied, there is a 720 in 5.8 billion chance of having 6 winning numbers. This means that when we reduce this to the lowest denominator, there is a 1 in 8,145,060 chance of winning, which is equivalent to 0.00000012277. To verify my calculations, we can now reference the original odds from tats.com, and it is indeed 1 in 8,145,060. Let us now finally move on to calculating the odds of Harry's name having 4 identifiers with 666. The odds of the first number being 6 is 1 in 10, since it can be any digit from 0 to 9. Likewise the second number and the third, making the odds of having one name totaling 666, 1 in 1,000. The second name is also 1 in 1,000, making the odds for 2 names 1 in 1,000,000. The third name is also 1 in 1,000, making the odds for 3 names 1 in 1,000,000,000. The fourth name is also 1 in 1,000, making the odds of 4 names 1 in 1,000,000,000,000. This is the equivalent to 1 times 10 to the power of -12. Let us now look at a orders of magnitude table found on Wikipedia. You will notice the highest magnitude only goes up to 10 to the power of -10. Harry's name would be ranked here. Note also the probability of dying in an aircraft journey is 1.17 times 10 to the -7, which is the equivalent to 1 in 8.5 million. Let us now move on to some other anomalies associated with Harry's name. Once again, here are the 22 letters of the Hebrew alphabet in their modern day format, and here they are in their ancient pictograph format. Each letter began as a picture symbol that later developed into a letter. Of particular interest is the first and last letters, Aleph and Tav, as shown here. Aleph was originally drawn as the head of an ox and means strength and leader. Tav was originally drawn as a cross and means a mark, a sign, or a covenant. Here is the evolution of the 2 letters from 2000 BC for early, 1000 BC for middle, and 400 BC for late, and present day for modern. The connection between the first and last letters of the Hebrew alphabet and what Jesus said in Revelation 1 verse 8 now has greater meaning. I am Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the ending, saith the Lord, which is, and which was, and which is to come, the Almighty. Here are the capitalized Greek letters Alpha and Omega, which stands for Jesus Christ. Likewise, the Hebrew equivalent Aleph and Tav also stands for Jesus Christ, with the additional meaning gained from the pictograph of an ox and a cross, which would mean leader and a cross, or given that oxen were sacrificed for sin, the picture may also mean a sacrifice on a cross. Jesus was indeed a sacrifice for sin, who died upon a cross at Calvary. Another pictograph that is of interest can be derived from the name given for God to Moses in Exodus chapter 6, the name Jehovah or Yahweh, as known through this tetragrammaton YHVH, and these Hebrew letters Yod, Hey, Vav, Hey. Let us now look at the pictographs for these Hebrew letters. They are behold, nail, behold, hand. The meaning of this pictograph can be clearly understood from the following image. Behold the nail, behold the hand. According to Revelation chapter 13, Jesus was the Lamb slain from the foundation of the world. God's name Jehovah was given to Moses in 1454 BC, and Jesus died and rose from the grave 1,484 years later. Let us now cherry-pick the beast chapter in the book of Revelation for clues relating to the pictograph for Harry's name. Revelation chapter 13 verses 4 and 8. And they worshipped the dragon which gave power unto the beast, and they worshipped the beast, saying, Who is like unto the beast? Who is able to make war with him? And all that dwell upon the earth shall worship him, whose names are not written in the book of life of the Lamb slain from the foundation of the world. Verses 4 and 8 are telling us the beast is going to be a world leader. Verse 16. And he, that is the second beast, see verse 11, causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads. The next key word we have is hand. Now let us look at the Hebrew transliteration for Harry. We have Hey, Aleph, Resh, and Yod. The pictograph reads like this: Behold, leader, head, hand. It would therefore be apparent that Prince Harry will be the first recipient of the mark of the beast. The usage of Aleph in the false Messiah's name parallels the Aleph or Alpha used by the true Messiah in Revelation 1 verse 8. The usage of the Hey in Harry represents an incomplete Tav, which parallels the incomplete work of the false Messiah, since he can't finish what he starts, unlike Christ, the true Messiah, who endured the cross and rose from the dead. The usage of Resh means first of all a physical head, and secondly it means first as in head of the class or head of the table. The true Messiah had a nail placed through his hand. The false Messiah will have a needle and an RFID chip placed into his hand. The true Messiah saves the world from their sin. The false Messiah will cause the world to sin. Let us now move on to two last anomalies associated with Harry's name. Firstly, the meaning of the word Harry. Harry means to disturb, distress, or exhaust by repeated demands or criticism, to harass. It also means to attack or raid, as in war. It also means to force along, as by attacks or blows, to batter or buffet, used of the wind or storms. Harry also means to harass or worry. It also means to ravage, especially in war. The Old Norse meaning is to lay waste. The meaning of the name Harry also relates to war. The Norse meaning is war chief, and the Teutonic meaning is mighty in war, while the Swedish, American, English and German meanings all relate to someone who rules the home. The English meaning also relates to army commander, army, someone who wields power. The last meaning of the name Harry relates to Satan. The word Old Harry is a nickname for the devil and Satan. Old Harry is also an informal and jocular name for Satan. The second anomaly of Harry's name can be found in 2 John chapter 1 verses 6 to 8, where we find the word Antichrist and Harry right next to each other. Here is what these verses say: "And this is love, that we walk after his commandments. This is the commandment, that, as ye have heard from the beginning, ye should walk in it. For many deceivers are entered into the world, who confess not that Jesus Christ is come in the flesh. This is a deceiver and an antichrist. Look to yourselves, that we lose not those things which we have wrought, but that we receive a full reward." All these things by themselves are insignificant, but when placed alongside the number of his name calculation, we know that Prince Harry is the first beast in Revelation chapter 13, and therefore the Antichrist.